So excited. Okay. Hello, hope you're well.
Yes, I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, I'm just going to do a little intro, Anna, and then
All right.
it's all right. I should have let you know. So, hello and hope you're well. Welcome to the Work in Progress podcast. I'm Abdullah Adekola. This is a show where I have conversations with interesting people about something they're working on personally or creatively. The hope is that we can learn from each other and grow together. You can follow the show instagram.com/workinprogpodaddy. So, who am I? I'm a Black and British writer and performer based in Leeds. My breakthrough collection of poetry is called Negrescence and comes out in the UK with Burning Eye Books in September 2021. My collection will be on my website, adekola.bigcartel.com, and you can follow me on Instagram at Adekola Poetry. So my guest today, Anna Silvério, or maybe Anna will correct me. Silvério, is that right?
Yeah, it's correct.
Okay, thanks. Anna Silvério, where she began her studies of ballet, folk dances, jazz, and drama. She received a first-class honors degree in choreography, methodology, and pedagogy of dance from the St. Petersburg University of Human Sciences, Russia. Anna performed with the White Nights Ballet Theatre, folk dance group Banzé, performing Arts Company Lorenzo Fernandez, among others. She was awarded in different dance festivals, as well as served on the judging committee of many others. She's published several articles on dance history and critique, and a translation of the book Basic Principles of Classical Dance by Vaganova. Anna is based in York, UK. She's a freelance ballet teacher. Anna founded recently Terpshichoring dance company and serves as its choreographer and artistic director. Okay, so Anna, thanks for joining.
Thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to be here.
Okay, how are you doing today then? How are you doing? Hope all is well. What's been going on?
I'm doing well. Classes, we have a summer break, and I can focus more now on the family and also in other projects that were a bit in hold.
Yeah. Okay. So Anna, let me just walk things back a bit. So we've known each other quite a while now. I think we've only been in the same room a couple of times. I think we met on a Transform festival, 2016, in Leeds, and you're doing a piece for that. And then we kind of, we managed to remain friends. There's a few things I want to talk about. I want to talk about, you are Brazilian in the UK. So I want to talk about that. You're a mother. I want to talk about you are, and you're based in the north as well. I just wondered if you'd, so there's a few things. So let's start with how did you end up based in the UK?
I came to England in a period that I wanted to return to Europe. I've lived in Europe for over 10 years, and then I went back to Brazil. I moved around different cities, and then I realized that I wanted to come back to Europe. I started looking for a PhD, and I wanted to do it in the UK. And in the meantime, I met a person that today is my husband that was living in the UK, and he was moving to York. He was living in Oxford, moving to York. So I came straight to York because of him.
Okay.
And that's how I came to England, with the wish to pursue further education and love.
Yeah, amazing. No better reasons really to move for love and further education. And okay, so how was it? How was it like? What was it like adapting to the UK kind of things? Not culturally and then also artistically. I have a sense that how is it? I will tell you. I'll get your thoughts and I'll tell you what I think as well. Because obviously I was not born in the UK, but I was, like I said, born in Nigeria. Lived a few years in Saudi and as a kid, but most of my formative years were based in the UK and specifically Leeds, which is in the north of England. So I have a bit of different a bit of an outsider perspective because I'm still connected to my heritage and my culture, but I also have an insider's perspective because I kind of also grew up here. So what was it like, kind of getting used to the UK, getting used to the culture in York and places like that? What was it like for you?
Was adaptation. It comes with error and trials often. Uh, in the meaning culturally, it's a different place. It's a different way to try get to understand what people mean by what they're saying, and this is a different how I was used. Uh, it's but in general, I think people are very welcoming and are very happy to help if um, if they if you can approach knowing exactly what you are asking for.
Mm.
Uh, this is different. So culturally, people would expect you to know what you want from them, and people are very helpful, and this is very good. This is and everywhere in a shop, in organizations, so in all levels, I feel this welcoming and helpful atmosphere. And the city of York itself, I think it's one of the coziest place I've been in my life. It is amazing. It's beautiful. It's a place where you can see 2,000 years of human civilization in a square mile. And the north of England and Leeds, is the only place that I've seen four seasons in a couple of hours.
Wow.
it's in it's in Leeds, so it's very interesting. Yes, and the respect for heritage, it's something that has struck me. York is there is a beautiful heritage in York. It is protected, and something that I think not only in York but walking around England, we see the respect for heritage and modernization. So, for example, the York Theatre Royal, there is the old building, the medieval construction, but also the modernization that was done. It sits within it, particularly well, not in other parts of. In other heritage sites, I've seen this. Oi, as well. Sorry, I lost you. Here you ask. Yeah, did that answer your question?
That's fab. Yeah. I think one thing about well, I resonate with all that. I think you there is England is, I think, is a very interesting place. It's got a lot of history. Places like York. I think York used to be the capital of England as well. Like some, maybe, I don't know, maybe 800 years ago or something like that, before the capital came to London. So, and Yorkshire is one of the biggest counties in the whole of England. So it's quite big. So there's a lot of heritage there, and yeah, and I think there is something about the north that way where it can be quite warm and things like that. So yes, I can really resonate with that. One of my colleagues who we also grew up with, and he ended up working abroad in places. He said one thing about the English is that they don't mean what they say, and they don't say what they mean, and they don't mean what they say. So it's that kind of that look that they might give you, but that kind. So it takes some time coming from cultures like other cultures where it's like a Nigerian culture where it's like maybe more direct or more expressive or whatever. It can be, you can take some time to get used to, like, English, because they're, the tradition, the stereotype is that, they're reserved, they keep a stiff upper lip, they don't, not too expressive, which is interesting, coming from as being artists and creators, because that's our job, is to kind of be expressive. So it can be interesting. Okay, so that's cool. So you settled into York, you came for education, you fell in love, which is amazing. And then, so tell me a bit about your practice. how long have you been? Obviously, you've been doing it a while now. You've done a PhD. So, how long have you been your practice? Dance and choreography. How long have you been doing it, and what inspires you?
So about the PhD, I didn't finish the PhD.
Mm.
I stopped it. I was pregnant, and I didn't go back to it, and I don't know if I'm going to do it soon. But my practice, I was sent to dance school when I was a child, and I basically never stopped. Um, and at the age of 16, so I danced Brazilian folklore, and jazz, and studied drama in Brazil. And when I went to Russia, I was 16, and I lived there and studied and worked for 7 years. So my practice is ballet is my biggest training. That's Russia. I remain in Russia because of ballet, and study of folk dance in stage versions. But also I'm going into what inspires me also, and in relation to my education, what inspires me is to tell the stories, the life, what is around us, what touches us, how we relate to this world. And I think as a storyteller, I consider myself to be a storyteller, sometimes with narrative, sometimes without narrative, but always looking for what is underneath that thing that I want to say. So if I want to use a certain movement in that moment of the choreography, what is that movement doing there? What is it saying? Why is this movement and not the other one? So I always try to look for to go underneath. It's also part of my education because ballet training, and also it's a drama ballet generation. So the generation that after the Russian Revolution, when the Bolsheviks wanted to just kill the heritage of ballet because it had nothing to do with the new Soviet era and the mentality, and people got together to keep it alive, so make it more modern, make it more realistic, and then came together a style in ballet called drama ballet. So this is where the new narratives were brought to ballet, and political narratives were brought to ballet. And this generation educated the generation of my teachers. So I am, in a way or other, I'm intrinsically connected with the story of now, but passed through a technique that is defined, ballet defined. So this inspires me. So the life and the way I can tell it, nature, and then I can go to folklore. So think about it as something that is just created and not real. Yes, we can relate to it, but also we can relate to it. There is so much knowledge in that. If you take a myth, there is so much knowledge embedded on human behavior, human relationships, uh, psychology, even in the oldest of the stories. So this inspires me how to bring this and connect this to our life now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah. So you've got nature, your folk heritage in Brazil, and also the the how ballet had to adapt to the different social movements in Russia, and how that impacted your teachers, and how that impacted you. And I think folk is something very interesting. I think we as a human beings, as a society, we need culture, we need heritage, and I think dance and myth is a very good way to kind of encode those messages across, and to put to kind of pass values and messages across. I think of when it comes to I think of what they were in America, specifically folk. I think at one point government really, after the Depression, they kind of promoted artists to go and find out the folk stories, and to in America, and to kind of promote them, and to present them. And I think that's something really powerful. When I think about Negro spirituals, old Negro spirituals that they in America, the enslaved Africans, when they were passing on messages, and and singing and praying, and inside these songs, and how it kept their spirits alive. I think it's interesting, because at the moment, now we're in the modern age. It can be difficult to connect with those stories, connect with the folk. So it's would you say ballet is like and dance is an interesting way of trying to keep those connections to our heritage and culture?
Yes. Would you repeat again, please? It was cutting the question.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I've lost your video, but I can still hear you, so that's fine. Yeah, I'd say, I was just saying that, how hard is it? Do you find it difficult finding? What I'm trying to say, in this modern age, how important do you think connecting with folk and myth is? How important do you think that is?
I personally think this is important, because that's us. That's what makes us today here. And storytelling is the oldest way of education. So you would keep knowledge alive and passing from generation through generation by telling a story that would contain that knowledge. So I think it is very important to understand why we are here today, and not only in a generalized way as humanity, but culturally specific groups. Why are those groups living in that place of the world? And the way of our thought, there is a theory that says that the Greek philosophy came from a cultural shock. So when the Greek became married, so they went into the sea, and they start visiting different places, and then they start seeing that there is a cultural difference there. There is a theory that say that this is where the philosophy came from. So to get into the bottom of things, like who is right? Are they right, or are we right? Let's think about it. So I think it's very important for us to understand, even if it does not, it doesn't, it's not real for us now, some values. Yeah, because yes, our values change with time, but it's also acknowledging how it was in the past, and the context, the historical, social context that those values were embedded in, is part for us to understand why we no longer accept those values. So if we don't know it, we're gonna forget about it, and we may go back to those same values that today we don't wanna have anymore.
Yeah. I think it's I think it's interesting. Know yourself, know your history, and those who don't learn history are doomed to repeat it, and all these kind of things. So I think there is something absolutely there in terms of passing on cultural values. Okay, so thanks for that. That was quite talked a lot about talked a bit about what inspired you, and theory about, and some ideas about culture and passing that on. So speaking of culture, passing things on. So you're a mother. To how has that been? How's that obviously affected your life, and and also maybe affected your art as well? If you could talk a bit about that.
Yeah, it affected everything, and it was a point of inspiration. When I learned I was pregnant, I start making notes of what I was feeling psychologically, emotionally, physically, and that it should become a piece. So I focus on my pregnancy, and it built awareness of my body that I didn't experience before. And it changes the body, but I felt in good shape during the whole process of pregnancy. And when I gave birth, it is another life. It affects everything. Those things that people say, we always hear about. It is the biggest love. It goes so fast. You have to enjoy. This is true. I can't add nothing to this. It's true. It goes so fast. He was so small, and now he's running around, talking in 3 languages.
Wow.
It is amazing. And the piece is called Me, Myself, and Misha, that I work from the notes of my pregnancy. I made a piece. It's 40 minutes long with original music by Ben Ice, and we perform at Leeds Playhouse during lockdown. And I'm gonna perform again. I know it's the festival, the UK New Artist Festival in Leicester next year. It was postponed due to COVID restrictions, and at this moment, I'm looking for programming it in different theaters and an auditorium. It's a very quite simple piece in structure. This is what I'm doing. So it changes. It makes you look. A child makes you look with completely different eyes. One thing that marked me, for example, is I was eating a pear, yeah, in
Yeah.
front of him when he was maybe 2 months old, and I was eating it, and he was so amazed by that thing. Like, where is that thing going? I was eating, and it was getting until it disappeared, and he was like, and you can see his expression, like, how was that possible? It just makes us look to the world and be amazed with the smallest things that when we go older we just ignore.
Mm.
So it is amazing.
Yeah. That's yeah. I can imagine, and obviously that, and it's really interesting that you talk that you made notes during your pregnancy and birth, and then now you've been able to turn it into a show. I think, yeah, that sounds wonderful. I'd love to be able to catch that show, and we'll when I upload this, we'll put the details for the show, if, where people can find it. I think so. Yeah, I mean, in terms of obviously, I can imagine, the work-life balance. You've got your own project. Tell me about if the project that you're doing in. I think let me just get the name of it. The Terpshichoring Dance Company. Yeah, and so you've been doing that. You're balancing obviously family life and obviously married life, family life, motherhood, etc. So I don't know if it's married life, but anyway, family life. How is it kind of being an artist and balancing all these things, and how do you kind of keep it all together?
uh, it's difficult. uh, Well, the one thing that works, the balance. We have to learn the balance. I think today we are committed to a lot of different things. Not only who is a mother and has a child, but also uh, men that it's not married or doesn't have a partner or a child. I think we are all committed to a lot of things today, and to find the right balance and to know how to prioritize, this is difficult. And knowing how to say no. We say this a lot, but it is hard to know how to prioritize, how to make your choices, and how to keep everything going at the same time. Because I did before something that didn't really work for me. For example, let's focus completely on this activity and leave other things on the side. But that for me, it doesn't work. I have to find the balance, even if the priority of the moment I will spend more hours dealing with it. But there is the other thing, that in order to keep everything going, I have to do every day something in all of the of the projects that I'm thinking. And when it's family time, about family, it is family time. No telephone, no, we don't have TV, so that's easy. But it's family. Is still my biggest. I think my biggest obligation in this world is to raise my child. If I decided to be a mother, I have to raise a child with tenderness, with patience, because it's actually harder to be a child in a world where the adults are stressed, they don't have time. So it is much harder to be a child under these circumstances. So when I'm with him, I must be with him. I must look and try to understand what he wants. And I made a promise the day he was born. I will make you laugh, at least smile every day. And this is something that when I come in the night and I think like, did I make him smile today? So I'm gonna try to do something to make him laugh, to make him, smile, because yeah, this is the biggest thing I have to do as a mother. If I decide to be a mother, I have to raise a child before anything else.
Thanks. That's really beautiful. That my biggest obligation. When I decided to be a mother, and with love, with raising kids with love, with tenderness, and trying to make them smile every day. That's beautiful. Did you how? So to do that, you have to kind of probably do some things for yourself, so that you can, So did you, what, how have you kind of been tender? The idea of tenderness has to come from somewhere. So what's your relationship to love and tenderness and being patient? Before you had a child, like how connected were you to that?
I think love is the salvation of the world. We need love. We need love. I was taught love at home. So I come from a lovely family. I never, I never had a moment that nobody loves me, nobody cares for me. So I'm lucky with this, and I'm so I think this is yeah. I mean, this is
Yeah.
the first, and we have to. I think when things are going wrong, it's missing love. It's missing understanding, and love is not enjoying and loving the same things. Love is respecting one another, and that's also about him. He's a different person. He's not me. I cannot push him what I like. But for example, he told me, "Mom, I like cold water." He was in the shower. I'm trying to make the water warm. I said, "Mom, I like cold water." So like, okay, I like cold water. I have to respect that, even if I wish, like, you know. It is maybe a silly example, but it is an example. We just have to respect people, and love is the way forward. All we need is love. All we need is love.
Amazing, amazing. No, fantastic. So, I think, I really think, that's some really, I really agree. Love is like, I think it's part of the reason why we're here. Why we're here, why we're alive, and why we're here. So yeah, I kind of really resonate with that. So you are actually now you're actually now abroad. Can you talk about, how's members of your family in the background?
Yes.
Maybe some of the people we're speaking of, but so you're actually now abroad. Your work. How is it? How's it been traveling during COVID? And how are you feeling? I think are you feeling energized? How important is it? Somebody who's traveled and lived in different places. How important is it? Being in different places for for yourself and also maybe for your creativity.
I think it's good to have a change of air, a change of of sites. It's the first time we are now abroad. It's the first time we came out of the UK since the lockdown started. It was a bit complicated, but yeah, it's good. It's very good to see the family. It's not my family; it's my husband's family, and I do feel the creativity comes and to more change of air is always good.
Mm, mm, yeah, I agree. Yeah, yeah. I've not been able to leave the country as such, but I'm hoping that that in the next couple of weeks and months ahead I'll be able to. But even being able to go down to a different city, or even go down to maybe like London or somewhere like that helps. Even that small change in scenery, or that which is a big change in scenery, it also helps. And yeah, I agree. I agree that I think traveling is it's good for those lucky enough to do it. It's really good for the soul, good for the mind, and you really get different perspectives and different ideas. So yeah, so that's I fully agree with that. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that if there's anything that we haven't missed, is anything that you wanted to talk about, anything that we that you wanted to promote. I think we're going to talk about once when the show will be. Me, myself, and Misha. Again, I'll put that on the page of this of this on the Instagram page of this podcast, and I encourage obviously everybody to check out your work and things like that. But yeah, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Anything else that we missed?
I want to thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here. I want to thank you, everyone that is listening to us. Thank you very much. And thank you, the UK and England. Thank you for welcoming me and other artists to the land. So yes. Oh, I want to make I want to say that the company has a complicated name. It's Terpshichoring.
Terpshichoring.
Yeah, it's Terpsichore. She is the muse of dance in Greek mythology, and I just added ing to her name.
Okay.
The gerundio. I like the movement of gerundio, so I added, and I I dreamed about this name. I was in a moment thinking like, how should I call the company? How should I call the company? I have to decide. I have to decide. So it was like a month that I was putting pressure on myself that I needed a name. And I woke up in the middle of the night with the name and the explanation. Terpsichoring with an ing to add movement. So the name and the explanation was there. And if it wasn't because of the dream, maybe I wouldn't stick with the name because it's a complicated. And why this is a complicated name? Why not something very simple like that people can memorize very easy? Why? But because of the dream, those things that you can't really the reason cannot explain. So
yeah, fab. Yeah, no, good for you. I think in terms of dreams, one thing during the beginning of the first lockdown, or the first, I had my dreams were really affected by the lockdown. So I had trouble sleeping, and then the dreams silly dreams, weird dreams, even some nightmares. And then I started thinking, is there and I was thinking, is there anybody else that's experiencing this? And I looked online, and then I saw people talking about it. Like yes, that lockdown has really affected their dreams and things like that. So what I actually did is I did a workshop called Poetry and Dreams, or it's called Dreaming Through a Nightmare, and it's just about exploring poetry and dreams. So one poem was about a nightmare, one poem was about I Dreamed a Dream by Walt Whitman, and so I just kind of talked to people about it, and we read the poems and we analysed it, and I think some of the feedback I got was that actually the next day after people had done the workshop, that they had really different dreams, or vivid dreams and things like that. So I think think dreams are very interesting. There's sometimes in my life I like pay attention to them and they are more relevant, and other times I don't really remember or notice them. But I know obviously like different people have really strong connection to them. I know like I have people in my family that really have really strong messages and really clear messages from dreams. You know, when they dream about someone, they call them, and then that person's always like grateful that they've called, or tell them, okay, this has been going on, that's been going on, thank you, and this and that. And so yeah, so it's I think it's another maybe a way of connect some kind of connection, some kind of intuition. I don't really understand it, but it can be really powerful source of inspiration.
Yeah.
So Anna, thank you so much. Thank you for doing this. Like I said, we've. I think it's really inspiring. Obviously, what you're doing. The reasons, the passions, and reasons for doing it. Telling stories, expressing, heritage and culture, folk stories, coming from your experiences as well. Coming from obviously Brazil, and then your time that you spent in Russia, and then now and then being in being based in the UK. And I think you just I think I'm really excited for your show about obviously about you and your son. I think it's just a really interesting example of balancing family, creativity, and just life in general. And you've always been thanks. You've been quite myself and I hope I can kind of be supportive of you going forward as well. So thanks for doing this today. Thanks for talking, and have a good rest of the holiday, and have a good rest of the day, and take care, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.